Hello, everybody!
Woo!
It's always nice to see all like-minded people join together for a common cause, which is freedom. Just a reminder, we still have a Nova Scotia Pass petition on the go. If you haven't signed one, please sign it, and we need help in that department, so come and see me if you can help. Also, I still have a few Nova Scotia Pass t-shirts left. If anybody wants one, come and see me. Also, last video we did got taken off of YouTube because it went against community standards. So, during this speech, I'll be changing a couple words. We'll be using copper virus, jabs, or jabba jabbas, okay? All right, so again, lots has happened since our last Friday. Our pompous leaders have declared war on the unjabbed, calling them selfish for not wanting to get the jab. That does not prevent anyone from getting or transmitting the copper virus. As I stated at the last rally, it is not a true jabba jabba because it does not do what it's supposed to do, which is to make you resistant, stimulate the body's immune system to prevent the disease, recognize it, destroy it, and remember it for future encounters. So, if you can still get infected and spread the copper virus after getting the jab, then it is not a true jabba jabba, right?
Right.
Yet they still try to convince you that you need to get that jab. Very illogical and unscientific, to say the least. The WHO has also stated, even if you are jabbed, continue to take precautions to prevent becoming infected yourself or from infecting someone else who could die. This is insanity. The push to take the jab in spite of having full knowledge that it does not work. Unreal. Now, since our last rally, there's been 2 COVID press briefings from our fearless leaders. Just a couple highlights. Tim Houston, my sincere condolences to those infected by the selfish acts of others.
Wow.
What a line to say, especially when talking about those infected who are fully jabbed. He continues, we're paying close attention to the percentage of staff in all sectors who have not yet reported. They're worried about that last small percentage. I wonder why. Houston goes on and says, we're expecting vaccines for children 5 to 11 to land in the province this week, which I believe they arrived last Sunday. The benefits of the vaccine are clear. Regardless of the age, get your child vaccinated to protect them against the virus. Protecting them also protects their family, their grandparents, their friends, and their community. So now comes the strong push to get those youngsters jabbed. Dr. Strang says, I am both angry and frustrated. People choose not to get jabbed. Imagine that. They gather with jabbed and unjabbed people against existing rules, and their choices have had significant impacts upon others, which are linked back to the multi-day faith-based gathering. Now, he never mentioned before that faith-based gathering that there was jabbed and unjabbed there, did he? So how in the heck do they know for certain it was the unjabbed that infected the jabbed?
That's right. Good point.
A quick update on copper stats. November 19th and 22nd, the 2 new deaths that were added to the copper deaths count, a man and a woman, both over 90 years old, and one was fully jabbed, living in a group home. And just a quick fact check for fact checkers. Based on 2019 statistics, the average life expectancy for a Nova Scotian is 80.4 years. So in my opinion, of course, I would say they probably died peacefully in their sleep, living a long life, and using their death to justify getting the jabba jabba. That is appalling as far as I'm concerned. He continues, to those who say that a proof of jabba jabba protocols and other public health measures infringe on your freedoms, I say others. Can you imagine that? Well, Dr. Strangler, in our system of law, no principle is more important than the right to control your own body and to make your own medical and health decisions. You are trying to convince, you're trying to confuse an anxious populace who are swept up in your deliberate campaign of fear now believes that individual freedoms upon which our liberal democracy is founded are dangerous and selfish. A growing collectivism that demands safety at the expense of autonomy is shaping public policy. They want to use tyranny to crush disobedience. Strang further says, even with low-level community transmission and highly jabbed population, the virus has made its way into a long-term care facility. Despite being fully jabbed, the impact on the East Coast Cumberland home care has been significant, but without the jabba, it could have been much worse. How worse can it get when you're dead? He continues, no jabba is 100% effective. Some people will get infected with copper virus even though they were jabbed. A great portion of the remaining cases will be breakthrough cases. What we expect is that the jabba greatly reduces the risk of severe illness, hospitalization, and death. The outbreaks we're seeing are examples of how quickly the virus can spread and the impact it can have on both those who are jabbed and unjabbed. I must say, really, the only thing I actually heard in that statement was this. The jabba doesn't work. It won't prevent you from getting the copper virus. It won't stop you from being hospitalized or prevent you from dying, but you must still get the jabba. How scientifically sound is that? Now, on November 20th, Gunter Kamp of the Lancet report says, when talking about the copper virus and the jabba, there is increasing evidence that jabbed individuals continue to have a relevant role in transmission. People who are jabbed are still a relevant part of the pandemic. It is therefore wrong and dangerous to speak of the pandemic of the unjabbed. I call on high-level officials and scientists to stop the inappropriate stigmatization of unjabbed people, who include our patients, colleagues, and other fellow citizens, and to put extra effort into bringing society together. You hear that, Dr. Strang? The unjabbed are not the sole problem when it comes to getting or transmitting the copper virus. Now, there's something interesting I came across when looking into boosters. Memorandums in a bulletin from the World Health Organization, which was posted back in 1972. And it says, virus-associated immunopathology, animal models, and implications for human disease technically outline the ability to create biological weapons in the form of jabbas that totally disable the immune system, load every cell of the victim's body with infection, switch the immune system on, causing the host to kill themselves in a cytokine storm. 1, 2, 3, dead. These WHO memorandums describe the 3-stage impact of the 3 shots many will be forced to take in the next weeks and months to come to allegedly treat a deadly copper virus. On November 23rd, those eligible for that booster 6 months after primary series were able to book their appointments for the 3rd jab. Even though our jabbed citizens are still getting copper virus and ending up in the hospital, they should still get their 3rd jab because they're proven safe and effective, right? By that evening, there had already been 12,000 people who booked for their 3rd dose. They say at this time, the government does not intend to include copper booster shots within jabba mandates requirements. They say based on the public health guidance and knowledge that they have now, there is no need to change the rules around the definition of a jabbed, fully jabbed. We will see how long it will take before they change their minds on that one. Just like they change their minds or their definitions all the time to suit the narrative that they currently are on, which is get jabbed. We must question the single-minded fixation on a virus that poses little risk to most people. Health Canada approved emergency use authorization on November 19th for Pfizer pediatric copper jabbas. They said that a thorough and independent scientific review of the evidence, the department has determined that the benefits of this jabba for children aged between 5 and 11 outweigh the risk. Public Services and Procurement Minister Philomeno Tassi is promising that could be a very different new year for hundreds of thousands of families. Tassi said the government and Pfizer Biotech had agreed already to an accelerated delivery schedule, and more than 2.9 million doses will be shipped, enough to provide a first dose to every eligible Canadian child. This is the first copper jabba authorized in Canada for use in this age group and marks a major milestone in Canada's fight against copper virus. Milestone, she says. I hope not, because I fear this jabba more than I fear the regular jabba. I hope that it doesn't take such unnecessary negative events to get people to understand the evils of Big Pharma and our government and public health officials. What I didn't hear from our leaders is the secret ingredient that Pfizer added to their new formulation for the age 5 to 11 group. I hope that our new year isn't much different, because I would hate to see any negative reports once that drug starts to be administered. They say to provide a pediatric copper jabba for use in children 5 to 11 years of age, the jabba has an improved stability profile. It uses a tromethamine buffer instead of the phosphate buffered saline and excludes sodium chloride and potassium chloride, which was used in the previous formulation. What is tromethamine? Well, it's a blood acid reducer which is used to stabilize people with heart attacks. What? Hello? What would they need to add such an ingredient to their jabba? Why would they need to add a drug that is used to stabilize people with heart attacks? Could it be that copper jabba are causing myocarditis and pericarditis in young people? They think that adding such a drug will stop the heart inflammation from happening. Now, there are several known side effects from that secret ingredient: respiratory depression, local irritation, tissue inflammation, injection site infection, febrile response, chemical phlebitis, vein spasms, hypervolemia, IV thrombosis, transient decrease in blood glucose concentration, hypoglycemia, and many, many more. Alarmingly, with the changed formulation, the clinical trials are really only just about to begin in children. A rollout date has not yet been confirmed to start this pediatric copper jabba's primary series regimes. There are over 63,000 eligible Nova Scotian children in this age group who are expected to get the 2 series of inoculations. Our good doctor and premier never mentioned that did they? Nope. Dr. Strangler did say on November 24th, most cases in children under 12, but with a rollout vaccine with children ages 5 to 11, we can expect to see less activity in the new year, as we are fortunate that most of the illness continues to be mild in children, and jabbas will reduce this risk even further. As your chief medical officer of health, I am strongly recommending that all children that are eligible get vaccinated. Achieving good jabba rates in the 5 to 11-year-old group is the next very important step in moving out of this pandemic. Pharmacies and IW Healthcare Center will be our main vaccinators, jabba-dabinators. and they will be ready to start on December 2nd. For the time being, the National Advisory Committee on Immunization has stated that their kids may be offered the Pfizer Jabba. In other words, no mandate as of yet for this age group. How long will it take before they decide to mandate this age group? I wonder what the punishment will be if parents do not comply. How far away are we from the state taking away children from parents who refuse to subject them to demands of our public health officials? There is no emergency for this particular age group, as they repeatedly say, and therefore no benefit for this age group by taking experimental Jabba. It is the position of the Nova Scotia Civil Liberties Association that the risk-benefit analysis overwhelmingly rejects widespread Jabba within this age group. Apparently, there is some good news if it's true. In a recent survey, only half of parents surveyed are intended to immediately jab their kids when Jabba becomes available. So, if that's true, that'd be great.
Can I interrupt for a second? Did you see the post yesterday, I believe? They had a defibrillator.
Yes,
And
they've been
that's-
passing
they're-
them out since over a year now.
They're putting them in school.
But they've been putting them in the schools for over a year.
Oh,
Yeah. See, they know what's going to happen, and they're preparing for it in schools. It's terrible. Using children as human shields to protect adults by jabbing them to theoretically reduce the potential spread is morally and unethically on every conceivable level. These actions offer no benefits to the child and put them at risk of Jabba injury or death. This must not happen. With that said, it's not enough that they want to jab our little children. Now they want your even younger ones.
Oh, no.
That's right. Dalhousie University will be doing drug trials on infants and toddlers between the ages of 6 months and 5 years old. That's right, infants and toddlers. There's approximately 13,275 children will enroll in this clinical research called Kid Cove study. This is alarming in many different levels. Now, this study appears to be a collaboration between Dalhousie University and the Canadian Centre for Vaccinology. And the Canadian Centre for Vaccinology collaborates with 3 partner organizations: the Canadian Association for Immunization Research and Evaluation, which is currently studying the effects of Jabbas on pregnant women. So they're currently studying it, yet our Dr. Schlangler wants the pregnant women to get the Jabba plus the influenza Jabba at the same time. And they're still under trials. Anyway, the Canadian Immunization Research Network, which has extensive ties to the pharmaceutical industry, and IMPACT, the Immunization Monitoring Program, which is run by Canadian Pediatric Society and tries to push Jabbas on children. Do these people really have your interests and the interests of your children at heart? Or is this simply a lucrative business opportunity? It's becoming evident that we were lied to. We were told that Jabbas were the gateway to our freedom, but in reality, they never intended to give us our freedom back. The constant desire of the status politicians to expand their power has led much of our political class and segments of our population to fear freedom itself, seeing it as a weakness rather than a strength. The more they fear and reject freedom, the more we will resemble collectivist, authoritarian states. In a free country, institutions, particularly institutions that exercise a great amount of power, should always be under suspicion, because history has shown us that the abuse of power is commonplace. Institutions should not be given trust simply for existing, and those who question those institutions should not be silenced, as our government would prefer. The back and forth of ideas in free and open debate is a cornerstone of freedom and innovation, and giving politicians the power to restrict that freedom is antithetical to our values. We fear the erosion of our free society. Canadians should have control over their own lives, not the government control over us. We have the right to make our own decisions about our health, medical medical treatments, and personal information. Canada is supposed to be a free country governed by the rule of law. Our chief medical officer of health believes that freedoms come with responsibilities. Your freedom, personal freedom, has well-established ethical and legal boundaries when it creates significance to others. Our Nova Scotia government and public health officials have no problems dictating and mandating to us what we should be willing collectively to give up, which is all of our freedoms, in the name of medical safety, without an ounce of evidence to prove that. What they are enforcing on the population via health measures and restrictions and mandatory jabba-jabbas, according to them, are working to rid our society of this copper virus. I say, no virus can be eradicated in such fashions. It can only prolong it.
That's right.
This they know. This is why they do it. Because a never-ending pandemic gives them all the power and control over the populace that they so desire. Everything is for the greater collective good. They care not for our health. They never have and they never will. As citizens of a democracy, we not only have the right but the obligation to question our officials whenever we feel they are asking something of us without providing evidence. In a couple of days, some Nova Scotians who decided to think individually and not get the jabba-jabba will no longer have a paycheck. Only a cruel, anti-democratic, iron-handed, unjust, greedy, appalling government would put their people at risk by mandating them to partake with an experimental gene therapy injection and call doing so an act for the greater good of the collective. In other words, too bad if it doesn't work and it might hurt you or even kill you. You must do it for the greater good. It has never been more urgent for people to get the facts and make the right choices, not the choice the government wants you to make. In the past, it is past time to take our power back. We must restore it or risk losing it. So, regaining and keeping our freedom and democratic country is the only way. We must keep fighting for what is right. Each of us can send a message that we are individuals with a mind of our own by respecting the human dignity of others, through refusing to give in to the fear, by not complying to do the bidding of the government, and by rejecting the treatment of people as second-class citizens. We can protect and keep our freedoms from being taken away. Our province and this country is becoming less and less free, and more dishonest government and public health officials seek to take our rights and freedoms away. The more that people across our great nation must speak out and push back, standing up for the principles upon which free and democratic nations are supposed to be based. We need to continue to make our voices heard. We need to continue to stop the tyranny, the dictatorship, the totalitarianism that has taken hold of our political leaders and our public health officials in our province and our country. Are we going to let them experiment on the children, the toddlers, the infants? No. We know what will happen. These children will have to endure the same jabba-jabba regimes, 2 doses in a primary series, then boosters at secondary, and so on, just like what's happening now. I say, leave the children alone! Yes, leave the children alone! Remember, we are more than there. We can be louder than they can. So stand up, shout it out, yell it out for all to hear. Make your voices loud and clear that I will not comply.
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 I will not comply.